Tropical World, the garden, tourist attraction and nature reserve based on the outskirts of Leeds, attracts 340,000 visitors per year. It houses hundreds of different animals, including various types of exotic birds kept in the heated bird enclosure, butterflies in the butterfly house, bats, rats and various monkeys in the nocturnal area. And there are various reptiles around the enclosure too. The most recent main attraction are the meerkats in the desert area, who are attracting more and more visitors every year. The most popular visitors are primary school trips for the children to learn about all the animals and creatures that Tropical World has to show them. We had the opportunity to spend the day with two of the volunteers at Tropical World to see their daily routine, what they feed the animals and the different job roles that working in the enclosure entail.
So I'm Kerry, the apprentice animal keeper. I've been here for just under a year now, so my duties are all the basic ones. So I go around basically first thing in the morning, making sure all the animals are nice and healthy. They've got food, they've got water, they've got light, and the temperature's all right for them.
So my name's Anthony, and I am one of the keepers here. So my duties entail pretty much the same as what Kerry's just said. So it's all the same. Checking on animals, enclosures, maintaining and cleaning them, making sure everything for the animals and the welfare is up to the highest standard. Obviously on top of that, I obviously do help Kerry out as well, try to teach and advise her where best, as well as our managers do.
The longest running attraction at Tropical World is in here, the Butterfly House. Originally, Tropical World only had this area and concentrated purely on this. It is designed to hold in the heat of the butterflies and the various plants' natural habitat, which is normally between a very hot 30 and 40 degrees. Thankfully, the butterflies are not caged away, which allows the public to get up close and personal with these beautiful creatures. The Butterfly House is not just a home for the butterflies.
So we've got a few interesting things off show that we don't have on show. Oh. So it's just basically our quarantine area. When we get new animals in, they need to be in quarantine for a minimum of 30 days, just to make sure that they don't have anything nasty that we can pass on. And again, it is just a little bit messy. So the animals don't like to keep it clean. So first thing that I'll show you is we've got two armadillos. They do like to sleep on the back, so you can obviously see it's just laid on his back there.
So in general rule, they're nocturnal, so to try and keep some normality to what they're going to be when they actually go on show, we try and wake them up to encourage them to eat during what would be our daytime.
Right.
Doesn't always work. Greater hairy armadillos.
So you can stroke the
They
back.
look hairy, but it's quite coarse hair.
Right.
Again, it'll be more part of the defence. They're plated, but obviously if you've got that coarse hair in your throat, you're not going to want to bite down and keep chewing. So
generally, when you get new people in, they go absolutely mad. They're like digging at you, they try and climb up you, and they're just very, very energetic for nocturnal animals, and they're kind of like little dogs. And for this, these guys are nocturnal as well. They're called Jerboa. They basically look like mice on stilts. They're really, really funny looking things. But again, since they're nocturnal, they'll all be asleep and you'll just kind of have to wake them up a little bit to keep them in normality. But they are really, really friendly. There is 3 adult Jerboa in here. These are lesser Jerboa. And then there's 4 little baby ones as well. But obviously the babies are quite old now, so they've all grown up. But obviously, just waking up, yeah, quite fluffy. But they do, obviously, you can see when they're starting to walk about, they do have extremely long legs compared to the body size. It's almost twice the length when they stand up, and they can jump to about 2 metres high, which is quite big for them. This bearded dragon, unfortunately, when he was younger, he did get into quite a lot of fights. He didn't like a lot of other bearded dragons, and he actually got here, you can see he's missing a little bit, and it's just his saliva gland that got bitten off. So unfortunately it overproduces saliva, and you can see here it gets a bit of sand stuck in. So every morning and every afternoon we have to wipe that out to make sure it's not getting infected, and just making sure it's nice and clean. but you can see obviously he's quite a nice sandy colour, whereas bearded dragons can go quite a few different colours. They can go quite a dark colour, which he's got a bit of underneath. Oh, you can see he's got a bit of a saliva bubble there, which is always nice.
This is Creature Corner, the home to Tropical World reptiles. In here, we have snakes such as boa constrictors, California king snakes, and Cuban boas. Thankfully, these animals are behind glass.
In here we have a Eurymastix and a pancake tortoise. Pancake tortoises are really endangered, but they're really cool. The reason they're called pancake tortoise is, unlike most tortoises, the underbelly is actually really soft. So when you feel it, they can actually breathe it in, and you can squish it in, and you can see that it's quite soft. So what they do is they wedge themselves in between rocks, and then they puff it out, so that then they can just stay there nice and comfortably. A lot of people seem to think that it's stuck, obviously, but generally if they can get themselves in, they can get themselves out. They are quite brightly coloured, our Eurymastix is Sahara Eurymastix, so they are quite nice orangey colour, which are quite cool looking things. Obviously they've got the really spiky tail for defence, but if you feel the back of them, they actually feel kind of sandy, which is quite nice.
The South American house holds all of Tropical World's birds and various different tropical plants which all require the same temperature as the species within this building.
So we've got a mixed terrapin tank. Most of them are red-eared terrapins, but we do have some yellow belly sliders in here as well. And there were at one time a couple of map turtles, but I've not seen them recently. But they do get up behind the stones and out of the way. And most of these were either dumped or found in the canal out in Roundy Park. And I think they found, it was about 100 of them, and we just kept 10 of them, and then people just keep adding to it, unfortunately. As pets, they don't make the best, but people tend to buy them. So when you get them the size of a 50p piece, but then when they get fully grown and they're a foot long and very aggressive, people don't want them anymore.
The facilities within this enclosure include 2 pools, a steam system to help recreate the real-life environment of the tropics for the animals. There's also a fountain to keep the moisture levels high by splashing into the heated pool in the centre of the room. The relaxing sounds of the bird calls, waterfall, insect noises and the steamy temperature combine to show you a real insight on what being in a real rainforest would feel like. Let's leave the rainforest and head into the desert room to see the meerkats. When the meerkats were first brought to Tropical World, there were just 3, until the breeding process began in 2009. By 2010, the meerkat family had grown by 10 and is expanding continuously.
Can get a bit of a better shot.
So obviously in the wild, any predators coming from above.
Sorry, so you've still got a few months ago their last litter, so these are the smallest ones right now. So there's 4 of them ones, and then obviously you have got a bit older ones. Mum's just over there, you can see when she stands up that she's got quite a saggy belly. Obviously teats are quite big. Again, Dad's a really scruffy looking one that's running around there. His fur's really not intact, he just kind of looks a bit of a mess, but he's the big boy and he's in charge.
This is a slightly darker area of Tropical World, the nocturnal house. The lights in here are the opposite of the sunlight, as of course the creatures in here sleep during the day and are awake at night. This makes it a lot more interesting, so the visitors are able to see the bats, rats and other nocturnal animals whilst they are awake.
Well, he's really friendly. Wanting anything? Usually comes over to see us. And as a general rule, these need lots of edge matter. They have lots of problems with the teeth because they have special teeth to help groom. So we can't give them too much fruit, too much soft stuff, otherwise they end up losing most of the teeth.
So if you just want to step inside there. So obviously in here are 2 owl monkeys. The thing they absolutely love the most is leafy stuff. So as soon as you hold it up to them, they do come over and they absolutely love it. In the wild, this is what they generally eat. Obviously they do like other stuff. He really likes broccoli, but a lot of the time it is just the sweet tooth that they like, and with the majority of animals you'll only get them where they like grapes or banana because it's really sweet. But these guys do, because in the wild obviously all they eat is leafy stuff. They do just generally love the leaf.
So when we're going in here, to be nice and quick and just watch the female jumping rat. She will come over to your feet. She won't do anything to you. You just got to nudge her back in. She's here already. Come on, missus. So in here, there's two different animals, both from Madagascar. We've got our giant jumping rats that live on the floor, and it's mum and son. Unfortunately, Dad passed away earlier on this year. Obviously, I get the name because in defence they can jump very well. They've been known to jump nearly 6 foot, so they have definitely a good jump on them. And then we have, as we can see just in front, tiny little mouse lemurs in here as well. They live solely up in the branches. They tend to not come down to the ground very often. And this is the dad of the group. Because Dad is very friendly, but on an afternoon we tend to come in and give them lots of insects. Because as part of the diet, obviously, they eat plenty of insects as well as fruit and veg. So he always comes over, always hoping that we've got something a bit more tasty for him.
Sean Gregory is one of the managers behind this organisation. He agreed to give us a brief insight on the history and the running of Tropical World today.
I've worked here 8 years. I mean, prior to that I used to work for the events team for Leeds City Council as well. It's actually an element of the job, if you will. I mean, we have one of the largest parks in Europe to also maintain as well. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting and exciting job. I think one of the key things is when the meerkats have pups. We don't often see the meerkat pups until about 2-3 weeks after they've been born. But then when they're actually out on show, you come in on a weekend, there can be 200-300 people stood here just watching the meerkats.
Is it hard to look after the babies?
Well, we have to be very careful about who we let into the enclosure, and I think one of the key things is for lots of the animals is they get to know the animal keepers and the animal keepers get to know them as well. Well, Tropical World actually began in 1984 and it was actually just a butterfly house. But what has happened over the next sort of 10-15 years, bits and pieces were added on to the Tropical World footprint. So that's how come we've ended up with the meerkat enclosure and creature corner and also all of the fish tanks in the atrium as well. I would say the constant number of births that we have, it's not just limited to the meerkats, there's all the various different types of birds that we have in as well. But I think one of the key things for me is creature corner, when the reptiles, when the snakes are giving birth, that's quite something to see.
Obviously you've got a lot of construction going on recently. Is that a big thing?
Well, yeah, this is actually phase 1 of the works of Tropical World, and what we're doing is we're revamping the whole of the shop area, but also we're building a new enclosure for our Morlets crocodiles as well. They're okay in the enclosure that they've got at the moment, but they're actually at 4 foot now, and we're having to obviously think about the future when they get to 9 foot, which is going to be something else. But yeah, that should all be open for Easter 2013.
There are also renovations taking place at the front of the building, making the outside of Tropical World a lot more inviting to the public. There's also a brand new gift shop, which is being built as an extension to the enclosure. The future of Tropical World is looking good. As all of the renovations are very close to being finished, it's a great place to come and visit for the day.